Hey guys, it's TFNut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another action figure review. It's going to be a pretty big one. This is going to be of the brand new NECA Fortnite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. This is going to be for all four of them, of Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, as well as Michelangelo. They're known as Leo, Raph, Donnie, and Mikey on Fortnite. They don't have their full names spelled out there. But these figures here, I'm just going to go ahead and show all four of the packaging rotations here. While I take a spiel, because I'm not going to go over each packaging, it's just ridiculous. They're pretty similar packaging with their own unique differences, of course. So these are interesting. I will admit I'm not the biggest fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't dislike them or anything. I liked them when I was younger. I saw some of the cartoons, had a couple of the toys, but I was never really big into it, especially later in life. I have a couple of their figures. I especially have the movie TMNT ones from the 90s that NECA made, like, I think almost a decade ago. So I haven't bought a turtle set in a while. But these Fortnite ones, you know, despite what some people say about Fortnite, I do think that some of their skin designs are quite good, especially with how all four of these come out in that game. I don't have these in the game, but in figure form, they all look rather spectacular. I'm not even going to lie. I think that they could work. If you just straight up ignore the Fortnite branding on here, they work just as some normal turtles. So, very happy that they decided to make these. They're also making Shredder, and they are also doing Fortnitemares figures. I don't know how that's going to turn out. They don't really look that great to me. But anyway, just giving you a look again. You've seen all four of these packagings pretty much while I was doing rotation. And you can see the unique differences in all of them because the top of the packaging is going to say the exact same thing with Fortnite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as the 14 and up rating there, as well as warning, choking hazard. On the bottom of every packaging, especially for pretty much every NECA release, you're going to have the credits of who worked on this product. So you see all those names there. You have all those different logos. Now each figure will also say which one which accessories they come with uniquely there. And then to the best of my ability, these are all four of the barcodes just in case you need them. Let's go ahead and get all four of these out of the packaging. Here are all four figures out of the packaging. I somehow got them all to fit on the spinning base here, thankfully. These are really good figures. I'm having a lot of fun with these. They're not perfect. There's some things overall about them I think could be done differently. There's also some unique issues that some of these figures have, but they're still rather fun figures. I'm going to look at all of the accessories together, just straight up. I don't want to be jumping around too much because we're going to look at the detailed portion of all four of these at the same time. So let's go ahead and get to the accessories, then we'll take a closer look at these figures. Now, some of you are going to throw the boxes away as soon as you open these, but be careful because the inserts at the bottom, they do have these cards that have these activation codes for each respective Ninja Stance emote. So you buy these figures, you can get a free emote with them in case you don't have these. I believe they were included in a mini pass a couple years ago. So some of you might already have these, so you could give it to someone if you wanted to. But if you don't have these emotes, you get some free emotes. Some of Fortnite's merch they do come with some codes for some free stuff in-game. But I don't believe this was part of the overall turtle skin bundle, so I don't think you get a discount there. But after that, you do have the actual physical, accessories with four of these figures. I forget the exact name of the back bling right now. I'm not going to be looking over to, try to remember everything because it's just going to take too long. This is the back bling, basically the sheath as well. For Leo, this looks great. I really like the brown as well as the different blue and a little bit of this white wrap there. This black one, this black part here of this sheath is really nice. The buttons are also really good. So the Fortnite GG, as well as a separate website where you can look up these cosmetics and see how things look. The cosmetic is going to have this. You can get this in farther, but it's going to be very difficult to take out when you do. So I'm not going to do that on camera. I'm going to be as careful as possible. This one here also goes in there. And I really don't think they look that bad with them sticking out too much too. This, though, sticking up all the way, I think it's supposed to be drooped down. This is a softer plastic, so it shouldn't get in the way too much. So that's nice. You can maybe, warp that with some heat if you really wanted to, but I'll keep it as is for now. Thankfully, that's not a hard piece of plastic, but that does stick up, which does look rather strange. Maybe if this was just a separate, like this whole thing was just one mold and you have the separate katanas, I think that would have been nice. But that's how that looks plugged into the back, like so. I'm sure you can interchange these if you really wanted to. I wish they kind of came with some Fortnite original back links. You can maybe put these on there and mix and match like you can in the game. But he also does come with some fists. Kind of wish they each came with gun holding hands. I will talk about that in a second, but these don't look too bad with some nice green paint on there. A little bit of some plastic sticking out there. That's a little strange. A little bit of brown bleeding onto that green there. Oh, other than that, they look pretty good. A little bit of a green splotch right there. I've actually yet to do this, so this could be a little... Yeah, okay, so that actually popped out really easily. Even doing this on camera might be a little risky. But popping that in, you have the fist there. So, you know, if you have an emote, if you want to do some fists, that's interesting. But if you want these to be normal figures too and they have fists, then of course that is also going to work just fine. You don't have to do anything Fortnite related with these just because they are labeled as Fortnite. I don't know why I'm taking a look at him. Because we're going to take a look at the actual hands first for Raph next. These are wrapped up here, and I'm trying to see. There are no other hands to get confused with because Donnie has wraps, but he doesn't have fists. So you have these fists here. It's a good thing that you're not going to get too confused. You can maybe even use these for Donnie. I actually don't know yet. But you know, you're not going to get too confused with the extra accessories and mix and match on accident. The wrapping around the hands look great, and you have the green, a little bit of this brighter green. Leo is a little bit of a darker green. So, yeah. Again, skin tones, you're not going to get too mixed up with certain accessories because of skin tones. And you do have the Psy right here. These look really good. I'm trying to see. They look like... Are they the same sculpt? They could be. And then I think that maybe the soft plastic piece at the bottom is differently placed for each of them. If they are the same, I actually don't think they are. Now I'm looking at it, like this X section right there, I don't think they are. So that's interesting. Great silver paint there, nice red on the handle, very clean. You have the back bling here. This is also going to be a little bit difficult to put in there, so I'm not that actually went in much easier than I thought it was going to. But popping these off is probably going to be a little bit tricky. But the back bling here does also have a nice pouch in the middle. A little bit of what would be some buttons right there. These look great. They actually got the placement of where the back bling goes as well pretty good, because it actually is like more on the center of Raph's back. It's a little bit tilted, but I can't really fix that right now. But that's what it looks like all the way on there. I'll do a quick hand swap too with one of these hands. I gotta hurry this section up in a second. So that fits on there. So far, the accessories are pretty good and they aren't too difficult to work with, because sometimes NECA figures are a little bit difficult when it comes to the accessories. Then you have the back bling for Donnie here, as well as the staff. The staff here looks great. I really like the purple wrap there with this brown paint. The detailing on there is very clean. You have the silver at each end of this little holster there. This is supposed to be facing up on his back when you put it in there. Nice purple wrap. Looking really nice. A little bit of brown splotched in there. Really good like stitching. Looks like some brown leather too. Getting this in here is more difficult than I thought. I believe it should stop like right here in terms of how it looks when, you know, the pickaxe is into the back bling. This purple is most likely going to get rubbed up a lot if you keep doing this over and over again. So just be weary of that if you decide to do that. One quick hand swap here. Actually, before we do the hand swap, I didn't even talk about the hands. So you can see that these hands are wrapped up. So these could also work for Raph if you really wanted to. Again, of course, they are meant for Donnie. You can see where it is in the middle of the fingers there. The wraps look really good. Nice, pretty bright green skin going on there. Actually, nice detailing on the palms too. A little bit of like a wash, I think, in the wrap sections on these figures as well. quick hand interchanging right here off camera, and then getting that in there. That's rather nice. Last but certainly not least, and the one that I'm a little bit disappointed with is Mikey. Nothing too bad, of course. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hands here. Nice knuckles going on there. These like silver pieces too underneath the actual silver knuckle, whatever the part of the design is. That's what the inside looks like with these gloves and a little bit of his darker green skin. I think there's a little bit of splotching in some areas of the fingers, so keep that in mind. And then you do have his nunchucks. I believe these are both the exact same. They do have a real small chain, like actual metal chain there. And the silver on each side of the nunchuck on all four of these little pieces are fantastic. Great looking silver going on there. Mikey, however, does not come with a back bling. You have a hole on his back for it, but he has what is called the board and chucks back bling, but you don't have that, unfortunately. And I feel like that is such a missed opportunity to do something unique. That probably would have been the best back bling out of all of these figures if they committed to doing that. By the way, just a quick look at what this hand looks like in there. You're going to notice a couple of these hands are open, but you're really not going to have a good time, especially with their hands meant for weapons, holding Fortnite weapons if you have like the McFarlane toys or other 7-inch scale type weapons for Fortnite or just any weapon really. So they can't really shoot guns, even though this is a game where you are shooting guns. You can maybe mod the fingers a little bit to do that, but I really don't feel like that's going to be worth it, and you might mess something up. So it also, at the bottom of the packaging, does say 6 hands total for each figure. So I'm wondering if certain accessories were scrapped and they couldn't get to it in time, like if they were going to include more back blings, maybe even if they had healing items or something, or weapons. That would have been nice to see, but really all we get with these figures are their respective weapons in their bundles and, in their lore as well, which makes sense, but I wish they could have done a little bit more, leaning into a little bit more Fortnite with the accessories. Here's a side-by-side of all 4 turtles next to each other. I think these figures look great. You almost forget that these are Fortnite related. That's not really a dig at Fortnite because these skins look great in the game too. Some of you just don't like Fortnite, and I totally understand that. Big thing here is that they look like really good turtles. So if you don't have turtles and you just want something that's a little bit more unique than maybe like some of the other stuff, like the movie or comic stuff, then you could get these. But, you could also just keep these in your Fortnite collection if you have that as well. I am going to take a look at one of these figures in terms of the overall body, because all 4 of these figures, this is not a new design philosophy for the turtles. All 4 of these figures have pretty much relatively the same body in a lot of areas, and a lot of unique tooling, of course. The big thing to note when it comes to uniqueness in the body is the front. I never know what this is on an actual turtle, but the front section here of their padding, I guess, but that's basically just the front of their torso. They're all going to look the same there, and they're all going to be pretty much painted. They're not going to be painted the exact same way. I was just about to say they're the same, but the colors are different there. So like you see how Leo's is, you see how Donnie's is. Different colors, absolutely. No question there. Even if there are things that are the exact same on each figure, they're done in a different and more unique way to them. So you have how the shoulder and the bicep look for Leo here. All these figures are going to look the exact same in that area. But of course, the skin tones and the spots are going to be different. Those spots have different placement, of course. I think all 4 of these characters also have the exact same arm wraps when you look at where the detailing is of certain indents and certain ways these things form around. With unique things, of course, you have these little tassel pieces ported onto Donnie's arm, whereas you have these removable wrist sections actually. I'm just going to move them around. I don't want to spend all this time actually taking them off, but they are movable if you need to. But that is the unique part for Leo there. Hands, of course, are going to be unique because of different ways they're designed. So, and also we've also mentioned that their alternate hands are going to be like, more unique as well, because this one has fists, and then Donnie here does have open hands. They're not open right now. And yeah, these are also going to be different hands. I thought they were going to be the same because they're wrapped, but this is fully, almost fully wrapped, and this is like less than halfway wrapped right there. So that's pretty nice to see that they really just weren't cutting corners, and they did make these as unique as possible. What else is, I mean, the lower torso is also the same. The back shells, of course, the, you know, harnesses and stuff are going to be completely different for each character, but the back shells, actually, and those figures just fell over. I think the sculpt work, you saw those individual scratches on that figure. The back shells are about the same sculpt, I'm pretty sure, and I'm not mad at that either. You can see how uniquely their harnesses are ported onto the backs as well, and where those portholes are. But just looking closer at like some of these bumps and ridges and individual areas there, you can see that they're pretty much the exact same. All three of these figures also have the exact same upper thigh area. Now, the harnesses and like the straps are getting in the way, but musculature wise they are the same, for the exception of Donnie. So you can see with Mikey how he just has his knee braces there, or his knee pads. You also have knee pads on this figure, but then you also have this wrapped sculpted section in there. The lower calves, there could be some retooling, but they're also going to be pretty much, yeah, I mean, like, the way these wraps are, like, formed around here are the same, but they are not the exact same. And then you don't even have that on Raph there. So, retooling all around, but unique parts that I really like to see. I think some of the most reuse you're going to get is probably with, I need to double check this, I think the elbow pads for these three are going to be the same. And I'm looking at them pretty hard. The way that some of these indents, holding three figures at once is a little bit of a nightmare. Is that a splotch there, or is that a trick of the light? That's a splotch, okay. But they look the exact same with these elbow pads. But I believe the knee pads are going to be the exact same with a little bit of different coloring in Raph and Mikey because of how the scratches are done on each side, as you can see there. Which I'm really not gonna be mad at that. Other characters also have some reused harnesses. I think that I'm trying to double check what we're getting. I think the leg harnesses, leg straps, I should say, are the same here. I think this pouch right there is also the same as Raph's in terms of sculpt work. But you get an extra one on this side as well. Of course, like the necks, those little neck sections are also the same, but heads are going to be different because of how the bandana is done. I'll talk about that in a second. I want to say these are different, but they could be the exact same head with some different stuff added on there. But they do look a little different to me. And then this one's also just going to be straight up different. It looks very similar, but because, I mean, it could very much be the same as this head here, with the difference that is retooled to have a shorter little tassel at the end here and ported on earmuffs. So I went over pretty much generally what are the same about these figures, but individually, just real quick, you have some really nice blue for Leo there. These tassels are a nice softer plastic. They aren't going to get in the way too much. They're softer. They articulate, actually. I didn't realize that. Nice darker green skin tone. All the spots are really nice on here. Really digging the silver and brown, even though that's splotched there. This little bit of this more green shell has some brown in there, whereas this has a little bit more brown, a little bit of gray. So that's really nice to see. The arm wraps also look really good. They have a little bit of a wash in there. And this little section right there is also great. The harness on the front there with these pouches looks great. The L right there on the belt looks great. I mean, pretty much everything looks great. Pouches are also, like the placement of these pouches, they could be retooled as well, but you have the individual, letters for each character, so they are also very different. And then you also have a character like Donnie and Leo, and they're the exact, very much different. You have the brown leather, which actually looks very realistic, for the wrist section there that moves around, a little bit of silver there. That's what the hands look like on these figures. All the default hands that come with these figures are on the figures now. I actually really dig there's some detailing in the black there that I didn't even notice. Then you get down all the way to like the straps. These look like they're glued in here. I think these are also glued in here. Really good silver and brown, almost like, it definitely looks almost like leather. Could look a little bit more realistic, but not too bad. Yeah, I like that pouch too. You have the knee pads. These are different because these parts are indents right there, whereas it's more protruding with that one there. Nice silvers, nice scratches too. Then you have a little bit of brown in there mixed in with those, you know, those slightly white wraps. None of these feet are reused, by the way, either. I do wish maybe we had some bases with these two, but you do have bases at the bottom of the feet there. You have a fully wrapped head for Raph, of course, but you do have a green splotch there, and then you do have, on mine, there's a little bit of, it's hard to see in the light, but there's some silver here, so I have more paint scratches on this figure than the other ones, I think. Unfortunately, I have paint QC on these figures for all of them, but they are rather minor. I think I can fix at least most of these issues. I really like the spots with his more light green skin going on here. Never mentioned, but just this one simple line really helps bring the mouth out on all four of these turtles. You have the unique shoulder pieces there. These can be removable, but I'm not going to do that on camera right now. You do have some scratches there, a little bit of silver splotched on there. Silver looks great overall, though. And then just how this is uniquely done, that also looks great. The wraps are great. You also have more paint, actually, now that I'm realizing it, of black and red on here compared to, and I think this is accurate to the skin, compared to what's going on here where it's just brown. So they added some more paint there, and I really like that. That little R logo there is really nicely done with some silver all around. Leg straps look great. I also really like how the, you know, again, this is not easy to do with these. They probably put these brown pieces on afterwards, but not easy to get those spots on there. Pretty nicely done. Knee pads. I think some of these parts are, especially if they're poured in there, but they're round joints, are definitely going to get in the way of articulation a bit, but these aren't super hindered or anyway. You also have a really good look at how the rest of these figures could have looked with just these bare legs on Raph and these bare feet. Now for Donnie, he's got a decent amount of stuff going on. I believe these headphones were ported on here as well. They are glued on here, so removing them, maybe they're just poured on here. But you could remove these, but I wouldn't really recommend it. This is also rotate. I'm not really sure if all of the back of the heads rotate. They might look like they do, but it was definitely rotating. Yeah, okay, this one does too. So I think they all should rotate. Elbow pads are unique here. These look great. They're like a darker, like silver almost, with a little bit of like a dry brushing on there. And you have the wraps with these unique parts ported onto here that are hanging down a little bit. This is a removable little device watch with some purple screen on there. Purple on the bandana, and the eyes are on all of them are really clean. Really nice look at all these pieces here on the belt with a nice D logo. Just a couple of pouches there. The wraps uniquely on this also look great. Unique kneecaps. A little bit of black dry brushing in some areas. The back looks like there, and then that's what the unique feet look like there. Last but certainly not least, we have Mikey. And then these go all the way around on each side there. These are nice and soft plastic. I think these also rotate. Yeah, they do. I like how the harness is done. Didn't talk about the harness on here, but you've seen that before. Again, these are all pretty much reused, but you do have the unique wrist sections there, the hands, on the gripping hands. Looking pretty nice. The unique belt where there's just pouches here and not on this side. Nice M logo there, going all the way down there with that. Harness, you can see how different the front of all of these look as well. They do also look similar in some of these figures as well, but you look hard enough and they are different. We've talked about these already. Pretty much legs are the same. And then, as you know, some of these other characters. And then you have unique shoes for Mikey with lots of this like silver stitching or something and some wraps on the bottom here. Even though each unique figure has different armor and body parts that could change the range of motion, the overall engineering on these figures for articulation is about the same. So I'm looking at Leo here. We have a dumbbell here at the head, then going into the body. So that can go up this far. And then, actually, that could be worse. I thought it was going to be pretty bad, but you get that much down, and that's really nice, actually. The side to side is quite good, and then you do have some nice rotation there. I feel like the shoulders could be a little bit better, but they do go out all the way at least to 90 degrees there. And then trying to push it down a little bit to go all the way down to his sides. He is a bulkier character. He's a turtle, of course, too. So the arms will stick out a bit, but that could honestly be worse. And then rotating the arms all the way here shouldn't be a problem. Upper arm swivel here. You do have this section right there that will get in the way a bit, but you do get a double jointed elbow, and it just kind of stops that, bending all the way, but you're getting over 90. Should be fine. And you do have a swivel here at the wrist, hinge back and forth. That should be for all sets of hands as well. It should be a ball joint here. I'm trying to see if there's anything else going on in here. I think it's just this ball joint that's doing all the heavy lifting on articulation. So the back is not going to work. Absolutely not. And then the forward, even though there's some softer plastic around here, not great. Side to side could also be better. And then that swivel, this little turtle shell will get in the way. But this is a separate piece, actually. Yeah, I think it is almost completely separate. Yeah, that's actually pretty crazy. But, yeah, the torso articulation could be better. You do get drop-down legs, though. So that's cool to see. And then they can kick forward. This is a softer plastic, so that might warp it a little bit. But that kick could be worse, honestly. I thought it was going to be not great. The back also could be worse. And then the pouches will definitely get in the way, depending on each side. But you can kick out like almost a full split there. That's actually really nice. I also mentioned there is a built-in upper thigh swivel, and some of these legs have it a little bit better than some of the other legs for some reason. There you go. And then you do have a double joint. Do we have a double joint? Yeah, a double joint at the knee, actually. Thank God NECA is doing double joints on the knees. I'm sure they do on other characters, but a lot of times they just don't. It does get in the way because the knee pad, of course, but that still kicks really well. Ankle rocker, the down section there for the feet, and then that is as far up as it can go, at least on this particular figure. That could be better, but surprisingly good range of motion, just the torso's not great. You got to see all four figures next to each other earlier, so measuring out the figure, you can see we're looking at pretty much 17.5 centimeters, so that is going to put this just under 7 inches tall. On the right side, we have the guy from Fortnite and the guy from Fortnite. You can see different companies, different scaling. But on this side, you have actual guys from Fortnite. That's Black Knight and AIM. I wish I had either of these skins. I do not. They're really close to each other, actually, because the character models should all be the same hitbox. That's going to be a little bit taller, but I don't really see that too much as a problem, if I'm being honest. And then you do see what this Mikey looks like next to the movie Mikey I got, I think, almost a decade ago at this point. It is much taller than a previous figure. I don't have any of the other turtles. I don't collect these turtles very often. So you can see that these are pretty big turtles this time around. Bottom line here is that some of you are probably turtle completionists, or you don't have that many turtles in your collection. You want to get some. These might be perfect for you. Or maybe you want certain Fortnite action figures in your collection. These are probably going to be perfect. If you're someone who probably has previous versions of some of the NECA turtles that you like more, maybe over these, then I may skip these. I don't think these are a super necessary purchase. I don't have that many turtles. I just have movie turtles. And I really like how these figures are done and how these skins came out in figure form. They just look fantastic. So I was going to get all four of these. Forgot to mention earlier, these are first to market at Target, but they will be available on other markets later. All four of these are really great. I think my personal favorite is Leo. It's just not really anything particular about that. It just looks really good. It just looks the most solid to me, and his backbling and accessories are really good. My least favorite, unfortunately, is Mikey. It's still a really good figure, but they should definitely have given this figure the back bling. And a lot of these figures are missing other accessories. They should have come with gun-holding hands and Fortnite original guns or healing items. That would have been really great, but these are pushing 40 bucks, so they're a little expensive, but they're still really nice. I mean, the articulation on these is really awesome, except for the torso. That could be better. The detail, paintwork, and sculpt, all of that, no problems there. NECA's always going to do a good job there. All four of these figures do have reused parts, but retooling on parts that could be reused, and then unique parts on their of themselves. So all four feel very unique. Individual figures do have some paint issues. That's to be expected. I was rushing to get these because these are a little bit hard to find right now. They should be a little bit easier as time goes on to get these. But I got some with paint splotches, so that's a little bit on me. Overall, still really nice figures. Don't know if they're super necessary, but they're still really well done. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below what you think about these figures, what you think about the review. Leave a like, share amongst your friends. Follow me on Instagram for more content over there, and I'll see you guys later.